as a reminder, I do not watch movie trailers for movies that I know I'm going to want to watch in my personal time or movies that I want to watch to talk about on this podcast. So I have not seen the trailer for this movie, so I don't know what information has been revealed. So this is a full spoiler warning for Everything Everywhere All at Once, which I just watched for the very first time this week. It was written and directed by Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, who go by the Daniels. It's produced by the Russo brothers of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it stars Michelle Yeoh, Stephanie Su, Ke-Huy Quan, and Jamie Lee Curtis. So I know that about a year ago when this movie first released, a lot of reviews went up about it. I didn't really watch the reviews. The only image I ever saw of this movie was Michelle Yeoh in her laundromat uniform with the third eye, or the googly eye. And I knew, or I had seen in headlines when the Multiverse of Madness came out, that this movie was getting compared to Multiverse of Madness. So I knew that it was a Michelle Yeoh movie, and it was about a multiverse. That's literally all I knew. And so I was never really kind of excited to watch it because I'm like, I'm kind of over the multiverse stuff already. It feels like that's, Marvel has already kind of, I think, maybe ruined the attempts and the potential and the excitement of multiverse. I think Spider-Man probably gave us the best thing that they might ever do because of the legacy characters and multiple timelines involved into one. I enjoyed Multiverse of Madness, but I was disappointed by the multiverse-ness of it. I thought it was a letdown from a concept perspective. And so with this movie, it became available on Paramount Plus recently, so I went ahead and I watched it. So what did I think about Everything Everywhere All at Once? I would say that overall, I really enjoyed it. I know that it was nominated for all kinds of Academy Awards. It's like 10 or 11 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. I feel like I'm of two minds of it, where I can understand that sentiment and that appreciation for it because of how much movie this is and how many different things they were able to pull off relatively successfully. But there were some things that kept pulling it back for me, mostly in the first half. That made me not maybe quite as high on it as everybody else was. But overall, I did quite enjoy it. I will say that for the first half of the movie, I was not really feeling it as much. I just kept thinking about the Matrix and jacking in and getting an ability and using that ability. And I feel like even throughout all the way to the end of the movie, where I was actually having a much better time because the character pieces were starting to reveal themselves and the different multiverse plot lines that seemed to throwaway setups were starting to come together and pay off in a really rewarding way. And I was like, okay, I actually really like how things are resolving. I just wasn't a big fan of the setups, but I just felt like that gimmick of, plug in, get a superpower, and then use it, and then do a 5-minute fight, and then plug in and get a superpower and use it, do a 5-minute fight. I thought that was all kind of a little repetitive and the same trick pulled over and over and over a little too much. I also thought I loved Ke-Huy Kwan's character, the guy who has made a return after playing Data in Short Round. I really liked his character, and I really liked his performance. The performances in general were really good. The acting in this movie was very incredible, because how do you judge that? How do I say, oh, that's good acting? Because really, if you see it, then maybe it's not so good. And I think the strength of the performances in this movie is that the characters felt real. They felt like a family. They felt like they were going through this fantastical situation in a realistic manner and responding in kind of unique character ways. In a lesser movie, in bad movies, when a significant plot moment happens or sci-fi experience occurs, all of the characters react the same way, sci-fi moment, and we all have the same reaction. But it's Michelle Yeoh's why do you look so stupid? And the dad is thinking about the divorce, and the daughter is thinking about her relationship with their grandpa, and they felt like individual characters, which I thought was really cool. But yeah, I didn't like how kind of the Matrix download, use the ability went to the well a little too often. I wasn't a big fan of all of the exposition, although I understand why it was necessary. But it seems like for the first 30 or 40 minutes of the movie, Ke Quan is just shouting exposition. These are the rules. This is how it works. This is how this works. You can't do that. Hurry up. Do something weird. Stay away. Stay away. Get away from the light. Stay in this world. You're going to ruin the multiverse otherwise. It just was a lot of kind of like exposition, and it kind of reminded me of a lot of Christopher Nolan movies where it's like all of the first act is like expository, like in particular Inception. Like Inception is like one of my favorite movies of all time for a long time, and then like rewatching it, I'm like, man, the first 40 minutes of this movie is just explaining the dream level shit. So yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the exposition. I also at first, I don't know, I'm like was waiting for like more locations to reveal themselves. I'm like, is the whole movie going to take place in the tax office? And at first I wasn't liking that, but by the end I really loved it, because it's like, yeah, technically the whole movie takes place at the tax office, but it also takes place in infinite realities as well, because they started to get expanded upon. And I did love kind of, so I didn't enjoy the plot device from a Matrix perspective, but I loved the plot device of the multiverse from a character perspective, where the Michelle Yeoh character was seeing all of her successes and failures and alternate routes and learning about herself through other versions of herself to become a different version of herself in the same universe. And I really thought that was just like really beautifully done. Again, I thought that I said at the top that there's so much in this movie. I think some of the best movies kind of defy genre or encapsulate multiple genres, where it can make you laugh, it can make you cry, you can be in awe of the action. And I feel like a lot of movies maybe focus on one thing. That's why we have genre. Like, that movie is a comedy. You watch it to laugh, not to see amazing action, not to have your heart broken by engrossing characters going through dramatic situations, not to be scared or terrified, right? You watch an action movie for the explosions, the set pieces, the special effects, not because you think you're going to find any real depth in character. And this movie does the amazing thing of kind of being everything. It's really good characters. It's a really interesting story and plot and setting. It's really amazing cinematography with a lot of different camera moves and camera work and memorable sequences. The music is really heartwarming, but also sci-fi when it needs to be. And there is definitely like some really emotional tug at you moments. I didn't full on cry in this movie, but I definitely felt the emotion, in particular, as a parent, the mom trying to connect with the daughter and realizing that like kindness is how we combat nihilism, and the world going to shit. Not caring is not the answer. We need to care even more, like kind of the message of the movie, and trying to connect with your family and accepting people for who they are. Like, and again, like in the first 15 or 20 minutes, I was like, I get it, like old conservative grandpa can't accept progressive, granddaughter. I feel like maybe I've seen that before. And but I love how the movie isn't just about that. That's just like one piece of the puzzle of the family coming together and the characters kind of going through their growth. I did feel like Ke Quan, he kind of carried the movie in the first half, and then he's kind of forgotten about in the second half, where he's just I don't know, just in the background kind of crying. But it is an ensemble piece, and different characters are going to take over at different moments. The daughter, when she's, the villain, she kind of gets her moments to shine. The grandpa gets his moments to shine. And then, of course, Michelle Yeoh gets her moments to shine. She's amazing. She's a mom. She's an actress. She's a hot dog fingered lover. Okay. And again, yeah, I can't stress enough like how rewarding and satisfying and just like fun it was to watch these disparate multiverse storylines that seemed like they were a one-off for the Matrix fight to like come back together and actually have like narrative resonance and character resonance and bring the family together at the end. Yeah. The other thing that didn't quite work for me, it felt a little unnecessary, was the chaptering. Having 90 minutes of your movie be everything, having 30 minutes of your movie be everywhere, and then having 10 minutes of your movie be all at once, I don't understand the point of those chapter breakdowns, because I felt like the movie naturally expressed that, and I didn't think that those were needed, I guess, but what do I know? I also, after I watched the movie, I found out that I guess the special effects were done by like a really small 5 to 7 person team, and I thought the effects were like really good. I thought it all looked like really believable, and yeah, it was a really good time. I'm not there's some things in the first half of the movie that pull it back from me being as high on it as everybody else, but if I had to give it a score, I would say 8 or 8.5 out of 10. Like, definitely glad that I watched it. Would definitely watch it again too. I feel like there's so much going on in this movie that it probably rewards repeat viewings. Maybe except for the fact that you're gonna have to maybe fast forward through some exposition. I don't know. So yeah, glad that I checked it out. I'm trying here for my own personal interest and for this podcast to get through as many Best Picture noms that I haven't seen already, so that I can do a proper Oscars predictions episode before the Oscars air, and then do an Oscar post show too. So yeah, 8 or 8.5 out of 10. Thought it was a really good time, and I'm looking forward to watching some more Best Picture nominees in the future.